and welcome to EgoBusters. My name is Andy Savage, and this is Jesse Heidemann, and we figure out what leftists think will work, and we figure out why it won't fucking work, and then we tell you. Jesse, tell them what we're going to talk about today. Exactly. Solar power. Our field scientist Sharpie Byron has this to say. So to produce 1 megawatt of energy, you need 5,200 watt solar panels. This is an estimation because each panel could produce 1 kilowatt hour a day in optimal times, or as low as 300 kilowatt hours on an average day, and on a seriously cloudy day it will be producing very little energy at all. So 5,000 is a rough estimation for what is needed to produce 1 megawatt hour reliably. Unless you just like constant rolling blackouts every time a cloud passes overhead. On an overcast day where you receive 1/10 the sunlight, it could actually be 10,200 watt panels needed. So you have to build the system to reliably produce 1 megawatt hour. Split the difference between the best and worst case and you have a rough estimation. Those 200 watt panels are 6 foot by 2, so that's 12 square feet. So if we just ignore that they have to be connected to a moving system to follow the sun and be spaced out to allow access for maintenance, we get 6,000 square feet of open space needed to produce a single megawatt. We produce approximately 138,000 megawatt hours every day in the U.S. So to power the U.S., you need 8,280,000 square feet to power the U.S. It's probably actually double that just due to spacing, but let's pretend it's one giant solar panel that is magically always pointing directly at the sun 24/7. If we account for the fact that you have to power the mechanism to move the panels and accounting for having capacity for peak load and storing enough to get through the night, which we do not have a battery capable of doing, then it's probably triple that square footage. However, if we ignore all of that, the minimum square footage of solar panels needed to power the US is 8,280,000,000 square feet. Just for reference, the R.E. Guinea nuclear reactor has a 576 megawatt capacity, 13,824 megawatt hours in a day, and takes up very little space. The reactor, turbine building, and service buildings take up about the same surface area as a large high school. Okay, this drives me insane, but I went deeper down this rabbit hole. At the equator, where you have the most sunlight possible, there is a maximum possibility of 557 watts per square foot per day. So given our current panels are 15 to 20% efficient, and we are not at the equator under absolute optimal conditions, you get a 6 foot by 2 foot panel, like in my last example, producing the numbers in the last post. However, let's assume that we have a panel that is 100% efficient. That's not possible for fundamental physics reasons. Mainly that thermodynamic efficiency limits single solar cell to 30% efficiency, which is not something you can change no matter what technology you have. We can never reach anywhere near 100% efficiency. Given that we cannot turn the sun up, we have a fixed amount of power that can be produced per square foot no matter what technology you have. It's fixed, so we can calculate the absolute minimum square footage you would need assuming 100% efficiency, and assuming we can pick up and move the US to the equator, it comes out to 1,790 square feet to produce a megawatt, and 247,020,000 square feet to produce to power the US, assuming it's one giant panel that magically always points directly at the sun. Also, that assumes perfect weather all the time with zero clouds in the sky, so the bare minimum you need to just power the grid with nothing extra in perfect conditions. That is the absolute minimum no matter what technology you have, because you cannot change physics. I'm even granting 100% efficiency when only 30% to 45%. That's ballpark because it's actually really complicated, but the point is you can never have anywhere near 100% efficiency. There is the Shockley Quasar limit that says the ultimate efficiency limit is 32%, but like I said, it's complicated. It's physically impossible. There is a finite quantity of power you can get per square foot. It does not matter how much money you dump into developing green energy because math is reality and reality is a bitch. I looked into thermal solar plants when they first came out and over the last few years to see how it turned out. They turned out to be a bust. Their efficiency is 2.7%, meaning they only capture 2.7% of the energy produced by the sun per square foot. Compare that to the efficiencies I posted above. Compare that to the efficiencies I posted above, you see the problem. The advantage is the liquid salt continues to produce energy all day long because it stays hot. However, it can never be efficient enough to work. It's not even 1/10 as efficient as solar panels. Yes, they also instantly cook birds in mid-flight. On the other hand, there are liquid salt nuclear reactors that would be highly efficient. I know what you're saying, Jesse. If we wanted to make it work, if we had to harness the power of the sun in order to power our country, what would we have to do? That's right, we're talking Dyson Spheres.
Mr. Data, could this be a Dyson sphere?
The object does fit the general parameters of Dyson's theory.
A Dyson sphere? It's a very old theory, number one. I'm not surprised that you haven't heard of it.
You would need the total radiation energy produced by the sun converted to watts. I just looked it up. It's 384.6 yotawatts. 3.86 or 846 times 1026 watts. Then figure out the minimum distance from the sun where it's probably possible to build something. So you just use the melting of steel as a rough estimate, just beyond where it's safe. Then calculate the surface area of the sphere with that diameter. Then assume that there is no energy loss in space. You might actually be able to easily calculate that. Just to get a rough estimate by dividing the total energy produced by the sun by the surface area of the sphere, then you have a very rough estimate of how much energy you can produce per square mile of the sphere you build under the assumption that you can harness it with 100% efficiency. But is there any other way? I mean, if we're going to talk magical shit, how else could we possibly make it happen? Just as an example of the scale of power we're talking about, a neutron star is the corpse of a dead star, essentially. They are extremely dense. The gravity is so powerful that it strips everything from the atom, leaving only neutrons, hence the name. We call this stuff neutronium because that's more of a way to easily think about it for people to use in science fiction. It's more like a mass of neutrons compacted together on an unimaginably strong gravitational field and not a solid substance. However, if you took a 1-inch cube of neutronium out of that gravity, it would explode with the force of 100 SAR bombs, largest nukes ever made, continuously for 10 minutes, and then half that for another 10 minutes, and so on. It would be so dense that if you dropped and it wasn't exploding somehow, it would begin making its way quickly to the center of the Earth. It would weigh more than every automobile on Earth. When two neutron stars collide, the explosion is called a kilonova. One star exploding is a supernova, which produces most of the elements in the universe. However, a supernova is not big enough, shockingly, to produce the heavy elements like gold. That takes a kilonova, which happens about every 10,000 years. If you have a gold ring, it was created in the explosion from two dead stars smashing together. So when they say it's theoretically possible to harness nearly unlimited energy from a living star, that's what is meant. Yes, in theory, it is an amount of energy available that is incomprehensible by the human mind. However, it is also probably impossible to harness it, and we likely would wipe ourselves out doing it. given our past history with dangerous amounts of energy. We invented fission and immediately made 2 cities disappear, then spent the next few decades playing chicken with nukes. So there you have it. I would say that solar power, fucking busted. Don't work. Can't work. Won't work. Sorry. Thank you for joining us. As I said, my name is Andy Savage. This is Jesse Heidemann. And for Sharpie Byron, we're all saying, it's bullshit. The solar ain't gonna fucking work. Sorry, motherfuckers. It ain't gonna fucking work.